Imagine a world transformed by the power of giving, where every act of kindness sparks another. These are the champions who dedicate their lives to change. Together, they are paying it forward. Champions of change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement. Here on the Achievement Channel.
Welcome to Champions of Change on the Achievement Channel. I'm Pamela Igbo, reporting live from the School of Eloquence, Lagos, where we shine a light on remarkable individuals, transforming lives and building a better future for us all. Today, we're honored to have Ier Jonathan-Ichaver, a distinguished social entrepreneur and co-founder of the Sesor Empowerment Foundation. With over a decade of dedication to supporting internally displaced persons and refugees, Ier has impacted more than 100,000 lives through relief efforts, rehabilitation programs, and advocacy. Get ready to be inspired by her incredible journey and unwavering commitment to change. Let's get started.
Champions of Change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement.
Ier, welcome to Champions of Change. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So you've had an amazing impact with your work with Sesor Foundation. You've impacted over 100,000 lives so far, working with people who have internal displacement. What I want to know is what made you start Sesor Foundation, and particularly what made you focus on this area of advocacy?
So it was a personal experience. My grandmother, who was at that time about 95 or 96, was displaced by a conflict in my village back in Benue, back home. And it was just the neighboring village. They were fighting over land or something. And in the middle of the night, they came in and burnt our family home.
Wow.
And my grandmother had to run. Now, you know, that generation, she could walk, she could run. And she basically had to run for her life. In the middle of the night, you know, at that time I was actually about to move from Nigeria to another country for an assignment, a work assignment. Then I was working with UNICEF Nigeria. And my dad just told me one day, oh, they've attacked our village, they've burnt our family house. And, you know, Mama is staying in one of these places near the marketplace. It didn't really register until I got home. I got into Switzerland, where I was going to at the time. And I started talking to him to say, okay, I need more information. What's really happening at home? And it dawned on me that my grandmother was actually living in some hut in the village. Went from living in this big house, which had now been burnt to ashes, basically to this place. And, you know, at that age, she didn't want to come to town, you know, Makudi, which is about 2 hours away by road. Some of the roads are not good. You know, at that age, you just want to be in your space, right? So she wasn't ready to move to any of her children's houses. So I took some time off, came home. I said, okay, let me see what's going on. You know, he said, oh, the house is burned, all the relatives, everybody's displaced. They're all hanging in different places. And it was my birthday that year, 2009, September. And I just did some fundraising, asked friends to support and donate. Let me go home and see what's going on. I'd also written a poetry book, a book of Christian poetry called True to You. And I said, oh, okay, I'll launch it in January, you know, my next holiday in Nigeria. Let me even go home first and see what's going on. And I went to the village. Oh, my goodness. That was when I realized they had this conflict. So my village people now retaliated, and they actually basically were just fighting each other, until they stopped fighting when they burnt their food supplies and everybody was too hungry to continue fighting.
Wow.
So there were displaced people on my side and there were displaced people on the other side of the village. So there they were just milling around, you know, and all of that. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa, this is serious. You know, and I'd raised this money and I decided, okay, they needed food. We needed to figure out how to begin to look at how can we make peace, how can we advocate and begin to call on the government to do their part, because there was no compensation offered to anybody for anything. And that's how we got into this. You know, we decided to register because we realized this extended beyond my family.
Of course.
And so we decided to register Sesor Foundation. It was very interesting. When I went in, I was also doing my master's at the time, my master's in political management. One of the things I was very interested in was, what is it that motivates people to carry out this kind of violence?
Right.
Because when we started talking, you know, it turned out that sometimes some unscrupulous politicians and political actors would instigate these conflicts and target certain people's homes in these places. Maybe they're a political rival. And the whole point is to cripple you, right? And so we said, what is it that motivates young people? These were young people in the village to go out there and destroy property, and you fight so much that you get too hungry to stop. You can't even fight anymore. You now stop. And you've destroyed your whole community, and all of you are just looking at yourselves.
Exactly.
And so I did some research on that. So my thesis was on youth involvement in political violence. And just talking to each youth, I interviewed young people in the community. One refrain: if you people will just come and help us. We don't have jobs. We don't have this. We don't have that. And we're like, so because you don't have jobs, you allow somebody from outside to come and give you money to go and burn your neighbors, whatever. It will destroy the place even further, and you will not get the jobs.
Exactly.
But what struck me was just that sense of lack of ownership, learned helplessness, and just feeling like, oh, we can't change, or, you know, we're just here. The help should come from external. And that's what informed the name Sesor. Sesor in Tiv means we will repair. And so it's on you. It's for you to take ownership. Of course, I was in the UN for 8 years. So we saw that refrain throughout many communities. You go and people will be like, oh, the UN should come and help us. But it's your community. And so it came from that philosophy and that thought that if we're going to fix things, it's going to be on us as communities, as Nigerians. Nobody's coming to save you.
That's right.
You know, you need to sort yourself out. And so that's where the name came from. And that's how we started. Basically.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that, what it means in TIV. I love that. So tell me, in terms of, I know some of your services has been emergency relief as well as long-term rehabilitation.
Yeah.
One of the key things to making a foundation like yours successful is sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how has that been in terms of making it sustainable? And also, what have been some of the challenges that you have found in trying to make it sustainable?
So that's an ongoing battle, right, in this space. But I think when we started, like I said, I launched this book. And it was actually the proceeds from that book launching, that you know, we used to kick off our first programs, to even register the foundation. And one of the things we had, coming from my background, I was in private sector fundraising with UNICEF, and before I'd always done fundraising from private sector. I really believed, again, back to that philosophy, we will fix ourselves. So we looked more towards how can Nigerians support this work. And so we had a lot of individual support from friends, family, friends of friends, and friends of family members. We tried to really keep our operations really slim.
Right.
And a lot of volunteering. For me, even when I now eventually left the UN and came back to Nigeria, I totally funded myself. I mean, newsflash for people, NGOs don't have pots of money, generally, most of us who are really doing, you know, you're really on the grassroots. So, you know, some people, even till now, even the Nigerian authorities, some of them feel we're getting dollars from abroad and grants. Not all of us operate that way. Even if you do get those kinds of grants, you do have to, it has to tally with your mission.
Yes.
So, for example, when we started, I was doing a lot of work. I did my initial rounds. In fact, we were one of the first NGOs from southern Nigeria or from the Middle Belt to go to the north.
Right.
When Boko Haram was attacking and there were people who were displaced, you would tell Nigerians, do you know we have displaced people? They say it's not possible. How can Nigeria have displaced people? How can we have refugees within refugees? We're just lying. Da, 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 da. So we had to go to say, okay, we know about these attacks. I mean, we started in Benue. Then there was a flood. People were whatever. But, you know, there was just none of that. That media wasn't there. Now everybody says IDP, IDP. At that time, 2010, you know, if you told people, I'm looking at 2010, 2011, even 2014, if you told people there were displaced people in Nigeria, they would argue with you. and they would say we are trying to. So I remember there was one situation, there was a conflict in my state. Terrorist headsmen were attacking the farming communities, some of them. And we raised the issue. And people were like, you're just trying to make the government look bad. You are being sponsored by the opposition. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Displacement is a reality. It's something that happens. Right. But so we made a conscious effort. Because of those things, we decided that we wanted to focus very much on trying to be as independent as possible. So we would not be open to accusations of being politically biased and so on and so forth. We could get our funding from individuals. We focused very much on CSR, reaching out to companies and corporate organizations to support us. So that was the sustainability journey, keeping our costs really low. For example, for a long time, I was just paid a stipend of 50,000 naira every month, right? So I was surviving through other means, doing consulting work and so on and so forth. I remember I had a friend that said, you should be richer than this. I'm like, please, that's not the point. Right. Let's do the work, right? And let's serve people and let's be happy. But I think in terms of that sustainability challenge, it is an ongoing challenge. You really have to think about how you're going to sustain. And looking back now, there are things I've learned that I would definitely advise people to do differently for the sustainability journey.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
But we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
yes.
Let's
that's been that's been our story so far.
Fantastic. Let's take a quick break and we'll return and continue this amazing conversation.
Champions of change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement.
Are you in governance?
You need public speaking.
Are you in business?
You need public speaking.
Are you a professional?
You need public speaking.
Learn how to overcome nervousness and speak with confidence before any audience at the School of Eloquence, the home of public speaking.
Attend our practical and training one-on-one coaching with West Africa's only certified speaking professional in Lagos and Abuja.
Call 0802 3032 066. Log on to schoolofeloquence.org. School of Eloquence.
Teaching the world to speak.
Champions of change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement.
Welcome back to Champions of Change. And just before the break, we were talking to Ier about internally displaced people and her work with the Sesor Foundation. So Ier, you were just about to tell us about sustainability and what helps with that. So if you could just mention a couple of things that has helped.
I think one of the first things is to actually have stream of income. And that's what I'm talking about, social enterprise now. You have to find something that you're doing that adds value to society and that earns income, that from that surplus you can now use that to take care of your social goals, of your charitable endeavors. That's something that I wish we had thought about way back when. Because when you think about it, the history of charity, it's funded from those kinds of entities. It's the excess or the deliberate setting aside. So we have MTN Foundation, that's what they do. Ford Foundation came from that rich tradition. They were Rockefeller Foundation and all of that. And that's something I think that's our sector in Nigeria. We need to really grow into that. Because you cannot depend on donations. It's not sustainable, no matter how you push it. I've pushed it for 14 years, and we're now pivoting into looking into other areas we want to move into.
And in fact, there's givers fatigue. Givers fatigue.
There's donor fatigue. We are burning out. I'm almost burnt out, because you're constantly looking for money and trying to whatever, So it's just to reinvent ourselves and see how we can, add value to society in a different way, while giving back as well to those who are displaced.
Amazing, amazing. You have something really exciting coming up, your research fellowship with the Toronto Metropolitan University. Tell us a little bit about that and how it feeds into your work that you're doing with the Sesor Foundation.
So it's with the Center for Research Excellence in Migration. And I'm going to be doing a fellowship just studying housing for refugees, migrants, and displaced persons. It's right what I needed at just the right time. Because in all the work we've been doing over the last 14, 15 years, what displaced people need is housing. They need sustainable housing solutions. Because think about it, if you don't have a house, where are you going to start from? And what we've seen with the women we work with a lot of women and their families, is they're serially displaced. So they fled to one place, then maybe the place gets attacked again. They're put in a camp. The camp gets attacked again. We've heard about that. Or they're in a settlement community. A flood comes. This one is Lagos. We see that, right? There are no camps for them in Lagos, right? But a lot of them are in settlement areas. They're in shanties. When it's heavy season, rainy season, just know they'll be flooded, right? Some of them have to move their children out. They now get to another place, or the place gets demolished by government or the owners of the land. You know, so they have to move. In Benue, for example, there were times we even had they move into a primary school. So the poor primary school children are displaced from learning.
Wow.
So they're staying in the primary school, or sometimes they're sharing. So children come to school in the morning. Then when a governor or government official says, "Oh, this can't happen," there's no option for them. They say, "Okay, you have to move out." Move out to where? So we started thinking the best solution you can give displaced people is just give them a place. In our rehabilitation work, in the empowerment and livelihood support work we do, these are people who are hardworking, who had businesses, had solid jobs before this stuff happened. Anyone can get displaced. But because they don't have housing, it now destabilizes them, reduces them, they become poorer and poorer. And we realize the biggest thing you can do for someone who's displaced is to give them housing.
Absolutely.
So it's something we've been talking to a few partners, but we want to look at how the financing options for that, the long term, because it's not cheap. And so for me, it's such a great opportunity to network, to find out what are other countries doing, what's happening in Canada, for example. I'm very excited about the people I'm going to be learning from, and also sharing with them our own experiences of working with displaced persons.
Fantastic opportunity. We look forward to hearing more about that. What would you say to entrepreneurs who want to start their own social impact initiatives and have the right attitude and mindset? Because you talked about servitude being the bedrock of actually being a social entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's not just about coming to make money, because then you're in the wrong you're in the wrong line. So what would you say has helped you as a foundation to focus on that?
I think it's just the desire to serve. You really have to decide, how am I going to give value? What's more important? I remember I had a situation where one of the things we sometimes see with service sectors, and we see it in governance, we see it in different places. One of our first outreaches for livelihood support program, we had some people who were doing some work with us at the time, and they came to support this program. It was a training program for the women. And because the women are displaced, they live in shanties, I came to the place and I noticed that they were buying refreshments, and they had bought for themselves, the workers who are not displaced, had bought for themselves malt.
And not for the people
very simple thing, no. And then for the people, they bought pure water.
Right.
I was like, how is that? You don't need the malt. They need the malt, you know. And so for me, it's about those people that you're trying to serve. The question is always, how can we add more value to their lives? Even in choosing what you're going to do to generate the income, how can you link it to what you're doing in a way that adds value? So one of the things I'm working on with some of my partners is, how can we, for example, develop housing products that we can sell to middle and lower income people who are not displaced, where we can now take a percentage of those profits
and use it
to fund the housing needs of those who are displaced. So you maybe try and find a linkage, but find something that offers real, tangible value. So that's what I'd say on that.
Amazing.
But with a view to serving, and how can we just make life better for those we serve, whether we're on the income generation side or for those who are just trying to impact in a socially impact. So that's it.
Amazing. And last but not the least is you wear many hats. Ever since I've known you, you're an activist, you're a humanitarian, you're an entrepreneur, you're an advocate. How do you
And a politician. I ran for office last year.
Oh yes, of course. I forgot about that one.
2023.
How do you basically balance it all and still maintain, your core focus in mind, which is really helping people bottom line?
I mean, I think the key thing is there's just that common thread. Of course, faith for me plays a really strong role. And one of my favorite sayings of Jesus is, more blessed to give than to receive. And I always say, in giving there's joy, And so in all those places, it's about giving. It's about speaking up for those who cannot speak up for themselves. It's about being that voice, being that advocate. And I mean, nothing. I remember one time, one of our first outreaches, we went up to Gombe because there were some displaced people who had fled from Boko Haram into Gombe, and they were being housed by the state government. Beautiful place, amazing people. Some people in Gombe gave them housing. They even housed some of them. So there were just amazing things they were doing. But I remember that day, we got this vehicle broken down. It broke down. We bought food. We were going to take it to the camp. And as we got to that camp, it was amazing. The camp manager said to us, I don't know how you knew, but we've run out of food.
Wow.
And we were just wondering this morning, how are we going to feed all these people we have? And obviously God worked it out, and we just got there and they had the food they needed. I remember there's a picture, there's a boy, he was so happy to see us, like this 2-year-old. He was so happy to see us. And, the people kept saying it wasn't about the food. It was amazing to them to hear that they were up in the north. These are mixed religion, Christians, Muslims, but northerners, various, whatever, that people in Lagos had fundraised. People from Lagos that didn't know them had given them food, giving money, and we had come all the way up there, risked our lives to come and deliver this food. We bought the food locally, but to deliver it. And they said to us, in every place we went, whether it was in Adamawa, in Gombe, in, what was the other place we went to? Jos, right? Or Kwampang in Plateau State. All we kept hearing was, we are not forgotten. Our brothers and sisters all across Nigeria have not forgotten us. And for us, even now as I'm talking about it, I remember that experience. It was goosebumps.
Yes.
Just them knowing that people recognize their humanity.
They felt seen.
They felt seen. And they felt the love of other people. So bottom line for me, that's just the thing. In everything we're doing, whether it's the politics we're doing, it's about serving the people. Whether it's activism, it's not about us. It's not about... if I was saying to somebody that with interviews and TV, it's not about me or EA or say, it's about the people we're serving. It's how can we amplify the message that people should support them more and really love those who are in need and love those who are displaced or whoever we're trying to serve.
Fantastic. How can people get involved? Because this is incredible work that you do. It makes a difference in people's lives. It's real, tangible difference. Yeah. So I'd like you to do a shameless plug and basically tell us how people can get involved.
Yeah, I would like to say that please support the displaced around you. For Sesor, you can reach out to us on our social media handles, Instagram, Sesor Africa. Please check out what we're doing. And some of you may not be able to reach us directly, but there's so many other people who are displaced in our local communities. Please see how you can reach out through your church, through your neighborhood. You will see them. That person who is in Megad or his wife, and have a conversation. See them, have a conversation, talk to them. What are their challenges? What are their needs? Sometimes it's just an encouraging word. Because believe me, some of them, they're about to go home and kill themselves because life is just so tough. We've had one situation like that. It was heartbreaking. But please, just keep reaching out. Those you can support, please do. You can send support to our organization, or you can also contact us. If you're in a different state, we can also link you up with those who you can help as well. Thank you.
Thank you, EA. That was wonderful. Thank you. We will leave all the details of how to contact Sesor Foundation on our platform. And once again, we'd like to thank you, EA, for today. Thank you for the amazing work that you do, and we'll support you in any way that we can.
Thank you. Thank you
so
much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for staying with us. As we've learned today, no challenge is insurmountable when we commit to making a difference. Let this conversation inspire you to find a cause and take the first step towards impact. I'm your host, Pamela Igbo, and this has been Champions of Change on the Achievement Channel. Till next time, bye for now.